Bakker.
All right. A note about this hat. I am famous for having really bad, cheap hats. It's the most expensive hat I've ever worn. It's a gift. It's a Stetson, of course. I had to take a diagram of my head and send it to the factory so the hat would fit perfectly. It fits perfectly. Even the wind of Texas hasn't blown it off yet. Anyway, this is a gift from a saint. We're all here because of it. Judge Whiteside. So tip of the hat to Judge Whiteside, wherever he went. He's a great man. All right. That hurts. That happened. I grew up watching the movies on black and white TV, and the first King Kong had a wonderful fight between a stegosaur and a group of guys with rifles and gas bombs. And the stegosaur was charging the guys, wanted to skewer them with its tail. And the guys cheated and started shooting, but that didn't do any good. And they threw gas bombs repeatedly and finally knocked down the stegosaurus. That gets me mad. Next slide. Now, Stegosaurus is a pretty advanced meat-eating dinosaur, late Jurassic. It is a distant cousin of raptors. And my question was, did Allosaurus, the main predator of Stegosaurus, feed its young? Was it a social, intelligent dinosaur? It had 3 fingers in the hand. Everyone hold their hand up like this. Thumb offside and then 2 fingers. That is the dinosaur solution. Next slide. The first Allosaurus skeleton I ever saw was rustled. It was stolen in the 1870s by a group of guys from Wyoming who came down to a dig being done by a professor in Philadelphia. And these guys snuck in on the weekend and dug out an animal. The only recorded smuggled, rustled, stolen Jurassic dinosaur, and it's a magnificent specimen. The guys were the Hubble brothers. One guy's name was Cheech, and the other guy's name, surprisingly, was Cheech too. The Hubbles. I made that part up. Don't worry about that. Anyway, it's a magnificent skeleton. I saw this when I was in 4th grade. It persuaded me to do dinosaurs. Now look at the tail. The Hubble brothers stolen dinosaur. They show it feeding on the tail. You see the little notches on the top of the tail? Little bite marks? This tail had been chewed by whom? By Allosaurus. How do we know that? Because broken Allosaur teeth were found in the rock right next to the chewed tail. So this scene is accurate. Next. Now here is the snake dinosaur of Colorado. This was a dinosaur voted by the state legislature thanks to the kids of the elementary schools in Colorado and their teacher, bless their hearts. And they voted Stegosaurus as our state dinosaur. The first Stegosaurus ever dug was dug in where? Colorado. Yes. Stay with the program. Yes, was Colorado. And it's a huge stegosaurus, one of the very largest stegosaurs. And subsequently, stegosaurs have been found in Wyoming, Utah, and other places in Colorado, but it's our state dinosaur. Next slide. Okay, now is Stegosaurus a great Jurassic cow? There is a black and white movie about Stegosaurus being attacked by an allosaur in the Disney great movie, Fantasia. I recommend it. You can get it quite cheaply. The animators show the poor Stegosaurus being threatened by this huge allosaur. And the Stegosaurus is winning the battle for the first couple of minutes. It's slashing at the allosaur, hitting it in the nose. But then, if you look very carefully, it falls down. It takes a dive. who is paid to throw the fight, and the allosaur finishes it off. But, check it out yourself. Anyway, how defenseless was Stegosaurus? It had spikes on the end of its tail. They're way over there. They're 30 feet away. Could it orient these things? Could it aim the spikes? Or was it a hopeless, hapless, small brain? And it was a very small brain. Stegosaurus is famous as being one of the two stupidest dinosaurs. Tiniest brain for its body weight. Next slide. Here's the allosaur. Please look at the hip joint. See that thing's coming down from the hip, and then it's got a little bar, sort of a ski on it. Stay focused there. Next slide. That's what was called in 1880 the sits bone, because you could sit on it. And probably they did. You could rest yourself and think about stuff, like upcoming elections and things. Anyway, that is the strongest bone in the allosaur's body. It's solid. Most of the other bones are hollow. Next slide. This sits bone of this giant allosaur, the one stolen, one of the largest allosaurs ever, has a hole in it, in the bottom. And the hole goes all the way through the bone. So the upper end of the hole was in the intestines. This animal was gut shot. Something, a weapon, went through the bone into the other end. Next slide. This is the entry wound, the upside. You're now in the intestines of the allosaur, and you're looking at this hole from the wound, or whatever, punctured through. It is a scary wound. It's big enough for a 20-millimeter anti-tank shell. It's a big weapon. Next slide. And it took a while for the animal to die, and it did. You're looking at a murder victim. It got shot, and the wound got infected, and a big chunk of bone was eroded out by bacteria. This allosaur, every time it sat down, it dribbled green malodorous pus, which is the name of my garage band. Green malodorous pus. And then it took a week, then he chewed to die. The infection got so bad it spread through the whole body. Next slide. Now this shows where the intestines would be, passing above this is called the pubic bone, above the pubic bone. And the hole went through that ski-shaped bone. Next slide. Okay, how are you going to stab an allosaurus straight up through the sits bone so hard that the point of your spike goes into the intestines? That's hard, because the sits bone is close to the ground and is horizontal, and the spikes of Stegosaurus are usually shown going sideways. So the only way I can think of to get the spike of the Stegosaur into the sits bone vertically, straight through, is to bribe the poor allosaur to turn up, and show its sits bone, which is a rather rude thing. And then maybe you could stab it there. Next slide. Maybe. Next slide. The problem is, we've got the trajectory. The wound is so beautifully preserved, we know what direction the weapon came. It came up through the bottom of the sits bone, not sideways, up through the bottom. And this challenges our CSI, crime scene investigation. How could you do that? Next slide. So, here is the Hubble Brothers allosaur species. And there's a weapon coming up from below, vertically, from below. Is this possible? Well, I'm a bit of a war historian. Next slide. So it's not totally impossible. That is a 1915 German sniper wearing a 1914 spiked helmet and a And that's about the power you would need. You need a big sniper rifle, 40 caliber. This is unlikely. This is unlikely because there are no rifles. There are no ballistic weapons or things to fire at. There are no holes for snipers. We have to think about this. Next slide. Okay, let's talk tails. This is the end of a stegosaur tail from Colorado. Very good tail. It's a little bit jumbled here, and they're unlike most dinosaur tails. The tip of the tail in stegosaurus has bumps and prongs and whatnots. The things called chevrons are muscle attachments on the underside. The things called Z-joints are extra little joints to guide the movement of the tail. This is a precision weapon. It's not for just flailing around sloppily. Next slide. There are animals alive today that have Z-joints like a stegosaur and chevrons on the underside like a stegosaur. These animals have flexible tails they can grab with. They're prehensile tails. Next slide. So the tail of a powder monkey or any of the other New World climbing monkeys, mechanically, they're like a stegosaur. They're strong and movable, and they can grab stuff. Next slide. There it is in action. Next slide. So maybe it is not impossible. Yes, it is. A stegosaur could wrap its tail around the limb of a tree and then haul itself up. No, the tree would break, the branch would break, and it would confuse the young allosaur who's down there doing computations in physics. Next slide. Now, if you look at each of the tailbones of stegosaurs, they can move. The first one can move relative to the second to the third, and the third to the fourth, and the fourth to the fifth. They can rotate. They can rotate around. There are muscles to do that. When you get out to about the 34th vertebra, the stegosaur can point its spikes sideways. Remember the blow that, the theoretical blow looked like it came sideways? Well, you know, the stegosaur could do that. It has enough strength to do that. It has enough joint maneuverability to do that. Next slide. So, okay, that is possible. That is not only possible, the only way to explain the stegosaur tail that's so flexible, so maneuverable, so incredibly strong, is that it's designed to do that. So right there, at the end, is not a passive, what's called in weaponry, the flail. You just whip it around. No, it's more like four sword points. Next slide. And there are muscles there in the base of the tail attached to the hips. These are stronger than T-Rex muscles. I like T-Rex muscles. I like them a lot. This is stronger. It's arguably the foot for foot, the strongest dinosaur tail. Next. So, yeah, we can do that. Next slide. Now, what about the rest of the stegosaur? Stegosaurus is most unusual in having huge biceps and the deltoid muscles, the muscles that let you do this. Could everyone please do this, please? Make a muscle, and then feel your deltoid with your left here. Deltoid is the muscle that lifts your arm. And no offense intended, you've got kind of unimpressive deltoid. So one guy in the back could grow to the back. And his shirt off and going up. That's enough here for the back. Next slide. If you look at the stegosaur's shoulder, there's some surprises. The area on the shoulder blade for the deltoid muscle is ginormous. For the size of the animal, it wins prizes. This guy could flex the whole front leg and pull it forward and outward with greater strength than any other dinosaur. Thank you for the jumper. It should have said you were. Next slide. Up close, you're looking at the front end of this stegosaurus, and it's operating its deltoid and another muscle, supracoracoideus. You'll have that too, but I wouldn't embarrass you by suggesting you use it. These muscles pull the arm outwards, which is an odd thing to want to do. The quadrupedal dinosaur, why do you want to pull your elbow outwards? Next slide. Because it turns the body around. You pull the right elbow out and push, the whole body goes left. Pull the left elbow out and push on the ground, the whole body goes right. Another thing about plant-eating dinosaurs, it's usually, they're hay burgers. They have huge guts full of vegetation they have chewed. Vegetation sitting in the stomach and intestines, being digested by enzymes produced by microbes in the gut. I often ask people, who farts more, Allosaurus or Stegosaurus?
Stegosaurus.
Yes, Stegosaurus would fart more, but whose farts would smell worse, an Allosaur or a Stegosaur?
Allosaurus.
Yes. Meat eaters fart less frequently because they're eating chunks of meat and other things. But the digestion of the meat part produces farts. Those of you who have large dogs, Dobermans, German Shepherds, or anything like that, they fart. You fart when you eat meat. Do the experiment yourself. Next meal you have, half of the class eat nothing but salad. The other half, the meat, you will produce more farts from the meat. But a specialized plant eater, like a cow or a moose or a rhinoceros or an elephant, they have big chambers full of enzymes in the gut to deal with the vegetation so that the gas is released quietly. Next time you have the opportunity to visit cows in a field, please do so after they're feeding, and spend some time at the rear end, and you can hear the farts very often. You hear them. But it doesn't stink.
That's my first time.
Is happy and eating a good diet, doesn't stink. Now, Stegosaurus is a most unusual plant eater in that it doesn't have big, bulgy guts. The green bone is from an ankylosaur, armored meat eater, very wide. It's wider than tall, great, big, bulgy guts. And the ribs, in green there, spring way the heck out. Whereas the Stegosaur has narrow flanks. It's an unusual design, so that it didn't have nearly as many gallons of room for digesting the plants. Next slide. So here we have a most unusual dinosaur, a small-brained plant eater, very maneuverable in the tail, very strong in the tail. It has given up some stuff. It can't digest tough plants as well as another plant eater with a bulgy stomach, but it can fight. It has the best deltoid muscles for turning the body around of any dinosaur. Next slide. So I would turn to you, and when you're thinking about the martial arts of Stegosaurus, it's not some crude club-wielding brawler. It is the four musketeers together. Those 4 points are directed with great precision and great strength. Next slide. So yes, this happened. We know it happened once. It probably happened often. Stegosaurus is arguably the most dangerous dinosaur to attack if you're a meat eater. More dangerous than Triceratops. And it won its battles often enough to keep on evolving for 30 million years. Anyway, thanks for your attention. Do think about farts. Do think about maneuvering. Do think about your deltoid muscle and your supracoracoideus. And thanks for coming.
anybody has any questions. Anybody have questions for Dr. Baker?